Hello and welcome to another spectacular episode of Talk to the Fish. Now, we've got a message from a viewer, Couch Coral, who writes, "What about narcosis when diving?" Ah, yes, the underwater euphoria that makes divers think they can befriend sharks and invite them to dinner.
The champagne of diving hazard, sometimes called rapture of the deep.
Rapture of the deep sounds so poetic for something that can make you swim upside down.
Nitrogen narcosis is a reversible change in a diver's mental state caused by breathing nitrogen under high pressure at depth. It affects your judgment, coordination, and ability to think clearly.
So basically, your brain throws a party nobody invited it to. Understanding this helps you recognize when nitrogen starts messing with your head, right?
Exactly that. Knowing what it is helps you recognize the signs and react appropriately, ensuring your safety and your body's safety too.
Think of nitrogen as that party guest who behaves perfectly fine at your house, but starts acting wild the moment you cram everyone into a tiny elevator. The higher the pressure, the wilder the party in your brain gets.
When it comes to when you can get it, nitrogen narcosis occurs due to increased partial pressure of nitrogen as you descend deeper. It typically becomes noticeable around 30 meters or deeper when breathing regular air.
That 30-meter mark is when things get interesting. And by interesting, I mean potentially dangerous.
It's similar to climbing a mountain. Higher you go, the thinner the air gets, and the more it affects your body and mind. In diving, the deeper you go, the higher the pressure effect on nitrogen.
But how do we know when nitrogen is being a troublemaker?
The effects of nitrogen narcosis vary from person to person and even from dive to dive for the same person. Let me walk you through what to watch for, especially around 30 meters and deeper.
So it's a surprise party each time. Your brain never knows which decoration it's going to put up.
First, you might notice feeling lightheaded or euphoric. You might find yourself feeling unusually carefree and wanting to do somersaults instead of following the dive plan.
That's just what happens when you get the happy sillies after your first glass of champagne. One minute you're sensibly sipping, the next you're doing your terrible dance moves for everyone to see.
Second, difficulty concentrating becomes apparent. You might stare blankly at your dive computer display, finding it hard to process the numbers for depth or air pressure.
That's when your brain decides to go on vacation while you're still working. Suddenly, those air gauges might as well be written in dolphin language.
Third and most dangerous is impaired judgment and reasoning. For example, you decide it's perfectly fine to swim far away from your body to look at something interesting.
Ah, the classic "I'm totally fine to keep going" moment. When you're about as fine as someone who thinks they can drive after a few drinks. Your brain becomes the worst advisor you've ever had.
Fourth, watch for delayed response to signals or situation. Your body signals low on air, but it takes you several seconds to notice, and then even longer to understand what it means.
That's when you're experiencing the underwater lag. You press the button on your brain's controller, but the action happens 3 seconds later.
Fifth, you might feel overly confident or anxious. You might suddenly feel like an expert explorer and decide to go much deeper than planned, thinking, "I got this."
One minute you're thinking you could wrestle a great white shark. The next you're terrified of a friendly turtle. It's getting the sudden urge to try a triple backflip on a skateboard you just learned to stand on.
Sixth, reduced motor skill or coordination becomes evident. You start fumbling when trying to operate camera buttons, or have difficulty controlling your buoyancy as precisely as usual.
Your fingers turn into flippers and your brain into seaweed.
Recognizing these early, subtle signs is crucial for preventing more serious effects. It's the difference between a manageable situation and a potentially dangerous one.
But wait, Regis. What if I'm already feeling those effects? Am I doomed to become part of the reef's permanent comedy show?
The good news, nitrogen narcosis is completely reversible. Simply ascend to a shallower depth and effects quickly disappear, usually within minutes, with no lasting impact.
So if you're feeling wobbly after those underwater martinis, the quickest way to sober up is to swim up. No hangover, no embarrassing texts to your ex-fish, just normal brain function again.
Keep your dives safer and more enjoyable by staying within training limits where narcosis is minimal or absent. Effects felt at 30 meters are minor compared to those at technical depths.
So recreational divers can relax. Before we go, Regis, any final thoughts for our viewers out there with their fins quivering in anticipation?
Remember, your certification depth limits exist for good reason. They're your best defense against narcosis, whose effects vary and worsen with fatigue, anxiety.
Thank you so much for sharing your tentacles of knowledge with us today, Regis. And that concludes our deep discussion for today. Next week, we'll be discussing batfish behavior. Are they secretly just underwater pancakes with fins? I've been conducting extensive research by staring at them for hours. They haven't confessed yet, but I'm wearing them down. Until next time, friends, keep your regulators in and your wits about you. And remember, the only pressure you should feel underwater should be the water itself, not the nitrogen in your brain. Swim free.
Forget all the troubles and blues. Dive into the blue. Oh yes, talk to the fish.